Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the nice kirtan, and thank you for the darshan of the Lord. And Prabhu, if you can give the darshan of Srila Prabhupada also, that would be really appreciated. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. All goes to Srila Prabhu. Thank you. So, welcome everybody to the ISKCON Columbus Sunday Feast. So, we are very happy that you could take time and join us. And the schedule is for the next 1 hour we have a very special speaker, His Grace Rasikendra Prabhu, and he will give a discourse on Lord Chaitanya, and this will continue till 12:30. And at 12:30 we will have a small local announcement session, and where we talk about the upcoming festivals and other this thing. And so today we are very fortunate and very happy to have Prabhu amongst us and giving us his association. Let me check if Prem Sindhu Prabhu, are you available? Can you please give a small introduction to Prabhu? Go. I think, is he able to come off mute? Let me check 1 minute.
Yeah.
So Prabhu, please.
So His Grace Rasikendra Prabhu, he's been a very long time devotee in ISKCON, and I have known him for many years, since '98 when I first met him in Dallas. Rasikendra Prabhu was introduced to Krishna consciousness very early in his life, at about 12 years of age, when his sister bought a Srimad Bhagavatam set and Bhagavad Gita. So he came in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books. He's from Singapore, and I think he knows Tamil also. I don't know, I'm not sure if he speaks Tamil. So yeah, he's nodding his head, so yes. And then he came to US in '91 in December, and he did his studies in aerospace. He has a PhD in aerospace engineering. He came in touch with the devotees, and he met His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj in Dallas. And his wife is also an initiated disciple of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And both of them were married in the Dallas temple on Govardhan Puja day, and it was graced by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He does a lot of services. He manages Tamal Krishna Maharaj's ministry, you could say, printing of his books, and he's very actively involved in preaching. He gives classes there in the Houston temple regularly. So we are very fortunate to have him here on our ISKCON Columbus program. So thank you very much, Prabhu. And if I...
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the undeserving introduction. It's my fortune to be in the association of ISKCON Columbus devotees. You all seem to be so eager to be involved in the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which has been perfectly continued, which was perfectly continued by Srila Prabhupada and his dedicated disciples and followers. So we just celebrated Gaura Purnima last Sunday. So we often speak about Krishna, but often many devotees, even initiated devotees in ISKCON, they don't know quite a bit of Mahaprabhu's mission, his mood, due to various reasons. Typically devotees join when they are very in those early days. They had no other engagement. So they were very very deeply, very intensely involved in the Sankirtana movement, distributing books, preaching, Harinam, temple management. But often you find ISKCON, many devotees we are joining as already established professionals and have very busy lives. We come to the temple maybe once a week, So often we get caught up in our lives and we don't really dwell deep into our lineage, our tradition very thoroughly. So it's important that we understand our lineage very, very thoroughly, what kind of treasure we have, why Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why Lord Baladev appeared as Nityananda Prabhu, why Mahavishnu and Sadashiva appeared as Advaita Acharya, and why Srimati Radharani appeared as Gadadhar Pandit, and why Narad Muni appeared as Srivas Pandit. So we have to understand these things very thoroughly. And when we speak, then we will have that conviction. It is a very important thing in our life. We should make it. So when you don't know the greatness about your lineage, then we'll go about doing things. Just like many traditions, when it's first formed, people were typically very philosophically in tune, but over time, due to the influence of the material energy, spirituality also becomes like a part-time thing for people. So Krishna says that, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you perform, do it as an offering to me. Krishna says, Manmana Bhavamat Bhakta, always Matyajimyam Namaskuru. So Krishna says all these things, but if we really look into our lives, how many % of that time we are doing it? We have to consciously ask us these questions. So it all starts from the first policy of honesty. Honesty is the best policy. If we are honest with ourselves, with our shortcomings, then there's tremendous hope to attain the goal. To begin with, if we are not honest with our shortcomings, our inebrities, our frailties, then progress cannot be made, because we think we have already achieved the goal. Okay, we've achieved the goal. What is the use? So Lord Chaitanya appeared for many reasons. He appeared for some internal reasons, and he appeared for external reasons. So external doesn't mean material. We have a tendency to think, oh, internal energy, external energy. So internal is spiritual, external is material. No. External here in the sense that it is visible. Okay. He appeared internally. Not many people could understand his internal mood, but externally everybody there could see his activities. So in that sense, his external reasons. So Lord Chaitanya appeared in 1486 in the month of Falgun, corresponding to our Gaudiya Vaishnava month of Govinda Mas. So appeared in the waxing moon, and it also happened to be an eclipse on the day he appeared. So some background about why Lord Chaitanya came. So Krishna came 5,000 years ago, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sakshat Bhagavan, Nandanandan. He appeared 5,000 years ago, approximately. Some of us will say he appeared in, most common understanding is appeared in the prison cell of Kamsa, where Vasudev and Devaki. But the Brajabasis will tell you that actually Krishna was born in Vrindavan, in Gokul. They will tell you that. Okay, how is that? How do we understand that? We understood that Krishna was born in the prison cell, appeared. He wasn't really born in the sense. He appeared in the mind of, the heart of Vasudev, then got transferred to the Devaki's heart, and he appeared. So that's like, in the Christian tradition, they call it Immaculate Conception. Have you all heard the term? The Immaculate Conception. Okay, the Immaculate Conception means a child is born without the union of a male and a female. Immaculate. Okay, there's no impurity in that. So this is actually immaculate, and Christ was born, said to be born with an immaculate conception. So Krishna appeared with the immaculate conception. He wasn't born like. But the acharyas have said that in Vrindavan, Krishna had the umbilical cord cutting ceremony. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that. How is it possible? So therefore, they say the real mother of Krishna is Yashoda Maya. Okay, so this is a very esoteric understanding. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about it very deeply. Okay, so this may be a little new to some of y'all, but we can read about that even in Srila Prabhupada's books. So 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya appeared, which is what, 86, 14 plus 21, 535 years ago. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. How did he appear? He appeared on the calls of Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya is said to be the joint manifestation of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. Sadashiva is the Shiva who is in the spiritual world. Okay? And that's the origin of all the Shivas, Sadashiva. Okay? So, and Sadashiva and Mahavishnu, and Advaita Acharya is very elderly, about 50 years older than Mahaprabhu. So it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sa Anga Pangarsha Parshadam Jagye Sankirtana Praye Yajanti Sumedasha. So when Krishna appears, he always appears with his limbs. Sa-anga, anga means those which are inseparable from him. Okay? So, Sa-anga, panga, his portions. Sanga, pangarsha, his weapons. And his energies, he appears together. He never appears alone. In fact, Krishna alone doesn't have much meaning. Right? Therefore, in ISKCON, you see very rarely you see Krishna alone painting, as Krishna is either with Radharani, Krishna is with Mother Yashoda, Krishna is with the cowherd boys, Krishna is with the cows, Krishna is with the peacocks. Okay, so Krishna is complete only when he is with his energies. Krishna is energetic, and then his energies are there. So the energy and the energetic always exist together, and then it becomes complete. Even Prabhupada goes as far as saying in one of his commentaries, he says, Krishna, when he's alone, is not particularly attractive. When Krishna is with his energies, with his devotees, he becomes exceptionally attractive. Okay, so just like in Vedic tradition, a man's valor is enhanced when he's seen with his wife. A man's opulence is enhanced when he's seen with his consort. Similarly, a woman's beauty is enhanced when she's seen with a husband, not by her own. Therefore, in Vedic tradition, a husband and wife always go to a function together. The wife doesn't go separately, the husband don't go separately. So therefore, Radha and Krishna worship together. Krishna becomes exceptionally attractive when Radharani is beside, and Radharani becomes most pleasing when Krishna is beside. Okay, therefore, in ISKCON temples, we always worship Radha and Krishna. Some temples in India may worship Krishna alone. Okay, but our tradition is Radha and Krishna. So, Advaita Acharya, he saw the despicable condition of society. This was in the 15th century, that people had swayed from the path of bhakti. They were meddling in all kind of speculative philosophies. They were engaging in all kind of ritualistic ceremonies. They were becoming extremely materialistic. And these were the cultured people, the Brahminical class. We're not even talking about the common people. And Advaita Acharya, because he is the Lord himself and appeared as a devotee, Bhaktavataram. So Advaita Acharya in the the description of the Panchatattva, he is identified as Bhaktavataram. That means the incarnation of a devotee. All of you know the Panchatattva mantra. I'm not talking about the Panchatattva Mahamantra. I'm talking about the Panchatattva Pranamantra, Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa. So this Panchatattva is Krishna appearing in 5 features. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa. Bhakta Rupa is Mahaprabhu, the form of a devotee. Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Nityananda Prabhu is Swarup, the expansion, the identification of a devotee. Sometimes it is understand. Bhakta Swarup is Nityananda Prabhu. Bhakta Avataram is Advaita Acharya. So he is the incarnation of a devotee. So what is the nature of a devotee? Devotee means he is extremely compassionate. He is extremely merciful. He is extremely magnanimous. He is extremely kind. So these are the real qualities of a devotee. So when he saw people completely forgotten the goal of life, suffering, thinking they're enjoying, but actually seeing their suffering, he was thinking, wow, how can these people all be delivered? And they're so proud. When we try to tell them about Krishna, they get mad with us. How can these people be saved? Even though it's Mahavishnu in the form of a devotee, he could have saved them. But out of his humility and to cause the descent of Krishna, he says only if Krishna from Goloka, if he comes here, he can save and correct the situation. He can deliver these people. He can attract these people to join the Sankirtan movement. Of course, by this time, there were already some devotees like Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur. They were all great Vaishnavas, but nobody took them seriously. They thought, oh, they're just preaching some Vaishnava philosophy. We are superior to them. We are engaging in all kind of philosophical discussions. We are getting into rhetorical debates, logic, studying the different schools of the Vedas, studying the Vedantas, the 6 darshanas. This is what's really important. That's what the mood was, and all kind of rituals. This was going on. So Advaita Acharya saw this very despicable condition. And he said, only way this can be fixed if Krishna comes himself. So being highly learned and very advanced devotee, he said, the only way Krishna will come if I worship him with Tulsi and Ganga water. Okay, he has a Shaligram of Krishna and Tulsi. He took the manjaris, and his house is by Shantipur, by the Ganges, and he worshipped the Lord and started crying out for the Lord. So the Lord, even though he is in the spiritual world, he hears the cries of his devotees. Okay, it's very important. So Rupa Goswami says the only way we can attain Krishna is if we have intense greed. Okay, just like we are greedy for some material attainment, so we work so hard, and as a result, we get some material gains because we have that intense greed to attain that. So similarly, spiritually, we have to be greedy. So Advaita Acharya was so greedy to get Krishna down, come to this world. So he cried, and his tears were pouring down from his eyes, and he was roaring like a lion to call, and his calls penetrated the material world and went into the spiritual world. And Krishna heard the call. He said, who's calling me? Oh, Advaita Acharya, my foremost devotee, is calling me. So I have to go. All right. Then by these cries, by the prayers of Advaita Acharya, by offering tulasi to Shaligram Shila, worshipping Ganges water. So this is all very instructive. So when you worship Krishna, you have to worship with tulsi and Ganga water. Very important. Lord Chaitanya decides to appear on a full moon day, but it was also an eclipse. Now, this is very interesting. In Vedic tradition, an eclipse is considered a very inauspicious time. People ask us, why did Lord Chaitanya appear on an eclipse? That is, in India, even up till this day, in India, the temples in Vrindavan, they close the temples. People don't cook. People shutter the windows. They don't let everything come. So bad omen. You cannot step out of your house. Nothing, just stay inside your house. So, but one thing is, when there's an eclipse, people have that tradition of chanting Hari Hari, Hare Krishna, and they will bathe in the Ganges because they say Ganges will protect us, is pure. Any inauspiciousness, any impurities will be washed away when we go to the Ganga. All right. So, and they were chanting. So Lord Chaitanya, he appeared on a full moon, but it was an eclipsed moon. Interesting. Very rarely it appears like that. Okay. So he deliberately chose to appear on the day of the eclipse so that people will be chanting the name of Krishna. Before he arrived, he made people chant the name of Krishna. Before he arrived, he made people go and be submerged in the Ganges. So this is the intent. So in the midst of the holy name, Lord Chaitanya appeared. People chanting the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya's appearance is predicted in many places. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Mahabharata, in the Upanishads, it is predicted his appearance. Even up to the point of saying that who his mother would be, where he would be born. But not many people know. Very, very few people know, because Lord Chaitanya's mood was not to exert himself as Krishna. His mood externally was to appear as the foremost devotee of Krishna. And real purpose is external reasons is he wanted to revive the chanting of the holy name of Krishna and establish that as the Yuga Dharma. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Saranam Braja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami Masucha. So that was 5,000 years ago, but who is following that instruction of Krishna? How many of them are following that instruction? So Krishna said, well, I have to personally appear to teach them how to follow my instructions, as I've spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, Krishna appeared as Sachi Sutta in the womb of Mother Sachi. Actually appeared in the heart of Jagannath Mishra. Then he appeared in Mother Sachi's heart, and he was born as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, there were 8 children who were born to, 8 daughters who were born to Sachi Mata, but all of them died prematurely. And then the first son was Vishwarupa, the elder brother of Mahaprabhu. He was the incarnation of Sankarsana, very handsome boy. Then when he was about very young boy, maybe 7, 8, Mahaprabhu was born. Everybody was so happy, and Mahaprabhu used to, because he was born near the neem tree, he was known as Nimai, and also as a way to ward off any evil, because in India, they say the neem tree can ward off ghosts and evil elements. So they named him Nimai. Of course, his given name was Vishwambara. And Vishvambara was given by his grandfather, who was Sachimata's father, Nilambar Chakravarti. Mahaprabhu's grandfather, his name is Upendra Mishra. He had 7 sons, and Jagannath Mishra, the father of Mahaprabhu, came to settle down in Navadvip. So, and at that time, Nilambar Chakravarti saw Jagannath Mishra and thought to be a very capable man for his daughter Sachimata. So that's how Jagannath Mishra got married to Sachi Devi, and from them, of course, through them, Mahaprabhu appeared in this world. So Mahaprabhu, in his young days, were very mischievous, exceptionally the most intelligent. Nobody could defeat him. He had such wonderful childhood pastimes. But these are all, but he was not externally showing any symptoms of devotion to Krishna. Those his childhood pastimes were very mischievous, very frivolous, at the same time very captivating. Okay, so people, even though he did all kind of mischief, but people could not, what could say, be without him. They were so attracted to his beautiful features, his speech, his activities, like that. So Mahaprabhu appeared in this time in Navadvip. Navadvip was the seat of learning at that time. Okay, so all the great scholars, they came to Navadvip to become excel in their whatever they were doing, to get a reputation. So what happens is Mahaprabhu's brother Vishwarupa, he was a highly spiritually advanced personality. So at a very young age, even from a very young age, he goes to Advaita Acharya's residence to listen to the Bhagavatam every day. So Mother Sachi was a little nervous. This boy is so inclined. Will he take sannyas sometime? You know, I don't want to lose my son. I've lost all my daughters. You know, he's my eldest son. So like this, she was so worried. But as Providence would have it, Vishwarupa, he decides to leave home and take sannyas. So this was most heartbreaking for Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, Sachi Mata. So what happens? Jagannath Mishra leaves his body from that heartbreak. So Mahaprabhu at that time, his mother said, well, Nimai, Nimai may also follow his brother's footsteps, so let me get him married. So she finds a highly qualified girl, Lakshmi Priya, very saintly, and gets him married with great pomp. At that time, Nimai had become a very accomplished scholar. So he leaves for Bangladesh. As a householder, he has to go and now make a living. So he goes and to Bangladesh, but while he's there, Lakshmi Priya, out of separation, she leaves the body. So this is very exceptional. I mean, who leaves their body from separation? Have we seen people leaving their body from separation? But Lakshmi Priya said she died from the snake bite of separation. Okay, the snake bite was just an excuse, but the real reason she left, because she couldn't bear the separation of Mahaprabhu. So she leaves the body. And then when Mahaprabhu comes back, he was very morose that his wife has departed. But his mother quickly makes an arrangement to get him remarried. So then he gets married to Vishnu Priya. So this is the technique in Indian families. If the mothers and fathers will get their sons married so they don't become wayward and do their own stuff. So Mother Sachi was also like that. So then Mahaprabhu gets married. Now he says, I have to do the pinda. I have to do my father's Shrad ceremony. So I'm going to Gaya. Gaya is a place in India, North India, where people go to do the rituals for their departed ancestors. So Mahaprabhu, on the pretext of doing this ceremony, goes to Gaya, but the real reason is actually he goes to meet his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri. Ishwara Puri, actually Mahaprabhu had already met him before. But now the time Krishna himself is in the form of Mahaprabhu, decides that I have to accept a spiritual master and become initiated in this path of bhakti. So this is very exceptional. We find that whatever a great person does, the whole world follows, even though this Mahaprabhu is the source of everything, source of knowledge, source of opulence, source of wealth. There's no need for him to accept a spiritual master, but to set an example for all of us. No matter how greatly learned we may be, he's saying that all of us need a guru. Okay? So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever great personality does, everybody follows. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, what he says? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. So Lord Chaitanya meets his spiritual master in Gaya, Ishwara Puri. And then Ishwara Puri thinks himself most unqualified to initiate. But by the will of Mahaprabhu, Ishwara Puri accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his disciple. This is most wonderful. And he gives him the mantra to chant at that point. And of course, Ishwara Puri was the disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri, who is the topmost devotee. Okay? In fact, Madhavendra Puri is the source of the sentiments of Radharani in our Sampradaya. Up till Madhavendra Puri, up till before Madhavendra Puri, this sentiment of Ujjvala Ras was not found in this tradition, but Madhavendra Puri was said to be the seed of that sentiment. So, and Mahaprabhu had the highest regard for Sripad Madhavendra Puri. Of course, you all have heard the pastime of Madhavendra Puri. Krishna stole sweet rice for Madhavendra Puri. Krishna tarnished his reputation for his devotee. So this was the position of Madhavendra. And Sripad Ishwara Puri was that disciple, that foremost disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And Mahaprabhu wanted to get the mantra from such a personality. So when he receives the mantra, Mahaprabhu becomes mad with love. He gets completely transformed. He was no more the scholar. He was no more the Nimai Pandit. He had now become Nimai. He become the great devotee Nimai. So he comes back to Navadvip from his travels, and everybody is completely astounded. They say, his students, they say, who's this person? His behavior is completely changed. His personality has changed completely. He's not the proud scholar we knew. And meanwhile, Advaita Acharya and Srivas Pandit, by the way, today is Srivas Thakur's appearance day. And everybody become very joyful. And because of the influence and the prestige Mahaprabhu had in Navadvip, many people start getting converted to the path of bhakti. Everything now Mahaprabhu taught was centered around Krishna. When he taught grammar, it was centered around Krishna. When he taught logic, it was centered around Krishna. When he taught Vedanta, it was centered around Krishna. So, and then Advaita Acharya, Srivas Pandit, everybody joins the fold, even though Advaita Acharya is 50 years old. And Mahaprabhu considered Advaita Acharya as his worshipable. But Advaita Acharya didn't like that position. He wanted to be the servant of Mahaprabhu. So a movement starts, an entire revolution starts in Navadvip. And many people joined this movement, and the whole Navadvip was vibrating with the holy name of Krishna. But there were some envious people still there who couldn't see, who thought that, wow, this is going to destroy our livelihood, right? We are the big people look up to. This is our livelihood. This Nimai is going to take away our livelihood and take away our prestige. What will happen to this? Okay, what will happen to us? So they got the Chankasi. That time, that part of India, in fact, the good part of India was under Muslim influence. So they went to the Chankasi and said, this Nimai Pandit, he has started something which is totally against Hinduism. One should never chant Hari's name loudly. It only supposed to be chanted very quietly within one's home. This thing is never authorized. So Chankasi, you know, he was patronized by the Brahmanas there. So he thought, well, this Nimai Pandit must be stopped. So then once the devotees were doing Nagar Sankirtan, and he goes there and breaks the Mridanga. And this word gets to Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu starts a movement, civil disobedience. That's the original civil disobedience movement. Okay. So at night, they all march towards, hundreds of thousands of people. They march towards Chankasi. At that time, Navadvip was actually a very populated place. It was a bustling town. So at night, everybody taking their torches and following Mahaprabhu and goes to Chankasi. And Chankasi gets very frightened. Say, what are these people? They're going to burn down my house and burn me down. So Mahaprabhu waits outside, and the Chankasi comes. He says, he addresses Mahaprabhu as his nephew. So the nephew shouldn't be very upset with the uncle. So Mahaprabhu engages in discussion and convinces him that this is actually the real deliverance for this age. So then the Chankasi becomes a supporter of Mahaprabhu and writes a jurisdiction that nobody should impede with the Sankirtan movement. So therefore, the Chankasi became a devotee. In fact, his samadhi is there. If you go, and there are followers of him who are actually devotees. They call Patan Vaishnavas. Okay, so his samadhi is there, and there's some beautiful tree there. During Navadvip Parikrama, if you go there, you can see Chankasi samadhi is there. So like this, Mahaprabhu, but still there were people who were envious. Then he says, you know what? I have to take my mission very seriously. If I'm a householder, people think I'm an attached householder. So I have to take sannyas. So he tells some very close devotees that I have to actually become a sannyasi. Then I can really do good to this world. Because everybody takes a sannyasi seriously. In India, everybody, even up till this day, they take a sannyasi very seriously. He could be a bogus sannyasi, anybody, but still they'll take him seriously. So Mahaprabhu decides to walk out of the house, he leaves his most attractive, most qualified wife, his most affectionate mother, his exemplary devotees, and he leaves home. So only few devotees knew about this. And then he goes to Katwa. Katwa is a place close by where the Advaitin sannyasi, the Mayavat sannyasi named Keshava Bharati was there. So Mahaprabhu went to Keshava Bharati, Advaitin sannyasi, to take sannyas. This is an interesting thing. So some impersonalists say, you see, Lord Chaitanya was actually an impersonalist. He was not a Vaishnava. Why did he take sannyas from Advaita? So it is said that when Mahaprabhu went there, before he took the sannyas mantra from Keshava Bharati, he initiated Keshava Bharati with the Krishna mantra. He whispered the mantra into Keshava Bharati's ears, and that made him a devotee. So then as a Vaishnava sannyasi, Keshava Bharati gives him the sannyas mantra. So this is the real understanding. This is the truth. So now Nimai Pandit, one of his very attractive features was his hair. Of course, his features are, but his hair was so jet black and he was so thick and so beautiful that people couldn't even imagine Nimai Pandit without his hair. So there was this barber, his name was Madhu, and he tells the barber, you have to shave my head now. You have to shave my hair. He said, no, I can't do this. This is just, I'm a barber by profession, but I've never seen any hair so beautiful like your hair. And I can't, so Mahaprabhu influences the barber to actually shave his head. And while his hair is dropping, everybody is just like devastated. And that time, there's Gangadhar Pandit comes there. Is it Gangadhar? The father of Srinivas Acharya also sees him there somehow. And so word gets that Nimai has taken sannyas. Okay, now he is now wearing cloth up to his knee. And no hair on his head. He's carrying the danda. And people are devastated. So Mahaprabhu goes through this trouble. Krishna goes through this trouble. Then he said, I have to go to Vrindavan to see the Lord of my life. But his mother somehow convinces him to make his base Jagannath Puri. It's closer, much closer, so she will get word of him. So Mahaprabhu actually pays full obeisances to his mother. So I'm your property, please bless me, please order me. So meanwhile, Vishnupriya, she takes a vow that she will only eat as many mantras. Every Hare Krishna mantra she chants, she will set aside 1 grain of rice. How many ever mantras she chants on that day, that's how much she eats for that day. So that's the vow she takes. Such a chaste. And her whole life was one of separation, just crying in separation. Okay, so Mahaprabhu also taught a very important thing, that we should never feel we have attained Krishna. We should always feel we are searching after Krishna. We are separated from Krishna and we are searching for Krishna. So that is the mood of the Goswamis, like Srinivas Acharya has sung in his Sat Goswami Astakam. So our mood is one of Vipralamba, being separated from Krishna and running after Krishna, searching for Krishna. So that's another mood. And Mahaprabhu now, he goes to Jagannath Puri. From there, he starts his journey for 6 years to all the way to the southernmost tip of India to spread the chanting of the holy name. And while he's going, he has appointed his devotees to go and preach in Bengal, in Jagannath Puri. So Mahaprabhu does so many wonderful things on his trip all over India, all the way to the southernmost. Then in the southernmost tip of India, in Kerala, he finds the Brahma Samhita, and he also locates the Krishna Karnamrita. He gets that to be translated. And he defeats all kind of opposing philosophies. He meets the Buddhists, he defeats them. He meets Mayavadis, especially the famous incident in Banaras, Varanasi, with his humility first. He attracts all the Mayavadi sannyasis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. And by his gentle behavior, by his firm arguments, he defeats them and they become his admirers. Of course, we know that when he went to Jagannath Puri, he sees Lord Jagannath and faints, and they thought that they have given up his body. So the Pandas there, when they saw somebody coming there, they thought, this person, what is he doing coming here? And so they came to beat him, actually, some of these Pandas. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, being a learned scholar, he could understand that this person is not ordinary. Looks like all his activity is suspended. They couldn't even feel his pulse. But he could see that this person was breathing ever so lightly. So he becomes very curious. And then he was with his devotees there. Then he takes him to his house. And then he tries to revive if they can, and the devotees, knowing that, they start chanting Krishna's name, Hare Krishna mantra, and Mahaprabhu wakes up from his ecstasy. Then that time he was about 24 years old. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, you are a sannyasi, you're so attractive. How are you going to keep this vow of sannyas? A sannyasi's business is not to be engaged in such sentimental activities like chanting and dancing. I see that you are only doing that. A sannyasi's business is to study the Vedanta. You have to study the Vedanta. Only when you're firmly rooted in the Vedanta, you can be fixed in the vow of sannyas. The way it is stated, that you can only give prestige to the loincloth, because a sannyasi wears a loincloth, that the prestige of loincloth can only be maintained if you study the Vedanta. Because the sannyasi wears a loincloth. What is so prestigious about a loincloth? A loincloth is prestigious because you've taken a vow. Only sannyasi wears a loincloth. You've taken a vow to abstain from all kind of sense gratification. So that sense is a very prestigious thing in Vedic tradition. Okay? People may think in other cultures, if you're wearing a loincloth and walking around, you're some kind of homeless person. But in Vedic culture, a sannyasi is highly regarded because he has voluntarily taken a vow to abstain from this and be fixed in his vow to serve Krishna. So Mahaprabhu said, yes, if you feel that being so junior, Of course, Mahaprabhu's one of his crest jewel of all his qualities was humility. Even though he was Krishna, Mahaprabhu was so conscious of etiquette. So therefore, any devotee who observed very impeccable etiquette, Mahaprabhu blessed them unlimitedly. Okay? So Mahaprabhu listened to the Vedanta. So you please explain to me the Vedanta. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, being the foremost scholar at that time in the impersonalist school, started talking and explaining the Vedanta to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 7 days. And all Mahaprabhu did was sit there and not speak a word. So after 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, look here, I've been talking this for 7 days. I've not heard a single word from you. You have not stopped to ask me any questions. Even when I ask if there's any questions, so what am I to understand? Have you understood anything I said? Oh. So, well, he said, Mahaprabhu said in a very humble tone, that I know the Vedanta, but your explanation has created confusion, like a cloud covering the sun. He said the Vedanta is like the sun, but your explanation is like a cloud which has covered the sun. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became very upset. He said, what? Me, the foremost scholar in Vedanta, has clouded the brightness of the Vedanta? If you are so smart, you explain to me the Vedanta. So Mahaprabhu explains to him, and then he speaks about the Atmarama verse to him. And first he tells Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to explain the Atmarama. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explains the Atmarama verse in 9 different ways, very unique ways, but in a speculative way. And Mahaprabhu explains the Atmarama verse in 64 different ways. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says that this person has to be God. No other person can explain such a explanation. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya joins the fold. And then the whole of Jagannath Puri also becomes a Vaishnava revival, a place of great. And then later part of Mahaprabhu's life. So now, meanwhile, Bengal, the great preaching is going on. And Jagannath Puri, this becomes seat of Vaishnavism. And Mahaprabhu, in the later part of his life, he starts becoming very internal. He starts relishing all the very fine sentiments Radharani has for Krishna. Of course, Lord Chaitanya appeared as a devotee actually in the mood of Radharani, because Krishna could never quite fathom what Radharani is experiencing. What about him which is so wonderful Radharani is attracted to? What is Radharani herself relishing when she is serving me? Or what are the feelings Radharani has for me? So these are all the reasons Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a golden color, in the color of Srimati Radharani. Even though it's Krishna, but he acquired the mood of Radharani. So these are his internal reasons. The external reasons is to spread the Harinam Sankirtan movement, to revive the holy name of Krishna as the Yuga Dharma, to set an impeccable example how to be a perfect devotee, and to bestow his causeless mercy unlimitedly through him and through his devotees. So these are the sum and substance. In conclusion, we can go very deeply into this subject matter. So we'll stop here. and ask for any questions, any comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So thank you for the amazing discourse, and it's always very good to hear about Mahaprabhu's life. And I think probably we'll arrange for another part 2 where you give us Mahaprabhu's South India tour. So that'll have a part 2. So definitely, very nice, Prabhu. And at this point, you have some time for some questions, Prabhu?
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, Ahmed, maybe 10 minutes we can entertain. I know you'll have the next program after this, right?
No, we have some announcements, Prabhu. No, nothing
Yeah.
specific. And because of this COVID, everything is on the Zoom.
Yeah.
So if anybody from the congregation, do they have any questions? Please go ahead. Otherwise, I can ask Prabhu one question. So
Go ahead.
So, okay, I can start, Prabhu. So, recently I was hearing to Haladar Maharaj. You might have heard the name. So Maharaj was mentioning, so in one point in your discourse, you were mentioning about this Vipralam Bhav. So, whatever we are doing is in terms of separation from Krishna. It's not that we already got Krishna.
Yeah.
So even the Kirtan and the whatever dance we do is basically in that mood is what we are dancing. So Maharaj made a very nice point that it's just like a small kid, we have Parikshit among us. If you take from Parikshit's hand the cell phone or something, then he starts jumping, that kind of thing. So is that really is that our mood? I just wanted your comments, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, our mood is that of separation. Even though we are not feeling separation from Krishna, to begin with, we have to tell ourselves we have not attained Krishna. Okay? I mean, it's very obvious we have not attained Krishna. If not, we won't be in our present condition of life. Even Mahaprabhu thought that he has no love for Krishna. Why? He said, if I had love for Krishna, how would I be physically alive in this body? So Mahaprabhu's mood, he had no love for Krishna. He said a person with love of Krishna, he will not be able to sustain his life. He would have left his body. Just like Narottam Das Thakur says that, right, when he sings in separation from Mahaprabhu and his associates, that I'd rather bang my head against the wall and walk into the fire. Okay? So Mahaprabhu never at any point he thought that, he said actually Krishna once appeared to him. But this is amazing, Krishna appearing to Krishna. But this shows that Mahaprabhu was never in the mood of Krishna. Mahaprabhu was always in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he appears and then he disappears. And that becomes Mahaprabhu's lifelong mission to search out for Krishna. His whole life was based on the fact, when can I be back with Krishna? When can I be back with Krishna? Where is Krishna? So in this mad search for Krishna, his devotion, his symptoms, all his expressions was based on just searching for Krishna. You find in the great devotees of Mahaprabhu, they is in the same mood. Even Madhavendra Puri, in his final days, he said, where is that my Lord of Mathura? Oh, when will I attain him? In his last days, this was his mood. And even Pundarik Vidya, these great devotees. So it's a very deep subject matter. This Vipralamba is not something very, it's not some kind of terminology. It is a very, very deep state of devotion, which is expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, in his Shikshashtakam, he takes you through these different stages. Right? Yugayitam nimishena chakshusha pravrishayitam sunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahenam. Okay. So this is a very, very exalted subject matter. And Mahaprabhu, therefore, it's like trying to teach mathematics to a, neither should we discuss this a very deep subject matter, get into the depth. People will misunderstand these things as some mundane sentiment. So therefore, Prabhupada kept things very simple for us. Chant Hare Krishna, distribute my books, read the Bhagavatam. And as you progress among your internal circles, if you are sufficiently advanced, you can discuss about this subject matters. Okay, but we should never get into the very intimate dealings between Radha and Krishna, Krishna and the gopis, you know, even so. All right, so but we should be in that mood that I'm separated from Krishna is because of my problem. Krishna, where are you? Please be merciful to me. Please help me perform some devotional service for you. Like that, we can pray. Okay?
So thank you, Prabhu. So Prabhu, one more question. I think Bhakta Andy Prabhu, please, Andy Prabhu, please you can unmute. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Bhakta Andy.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I wanted to say, I wanted to know, why do some people say that Krishna wasn't, manifested in the prison, but born in Vrindavan? Like, that one seemed very confusing. Like, is it because his travels and how he had to perform his pastimes in Vrindavan? That one kind of got me.
Because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So people may ask, so the expansion of Krishna appeared in the prison cell, but the real Krishna was actually born in Vrindavan to Mother Yashoda. So the Krishna who appeared in the prison cell, that is Vasudev Krishna. So this is to, therefore, sometime when we read, we really need to, some things are even hidden. So therefore we have to hear from those type of devotees who are really living their life in Krishna consciousness. Everything gets revealed to them. Okay, so just like the Goswamis, they've written so many things you don't find even in the scriptures. Rupa Goswami, so many things out of revelation, it just spontaneously appears in their heart because they are so steeped in their love for Krishna. Krishna just reveals everything to them as how it should be. Okay, so Krishna was actually born as the biological son of Yashoda. I can send you all some references to that if you all want. Okay, I need to look it up. Give me a week or so. Yeah, I can send it to Premasindhu Prabhu. He can share it with you.
Yes, Prabhu.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, I see a couple of more hands. So Rukmini Mataji can go ahead, please.
Prabhu, thank you so much for giving this wonderful overview of Mahaprabhu's life. It's very broad and also very concise and succinct. So thank you for sharing. So one theme that occurred was that there was all these scholars who were thinking something else, basically. So he appeared in Navadvip, which was this place of scholarship, but it was not the place of devotion, and then that that the people were arguing with the Chand Kazi about Harinam based on their pre-existing conceptions, and also that Mahaprabhu he converted Prakashananda Saraswati and also Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So there are all these arguments taking place with the scholars of the time, and so then your Guru Maharaj also, he went and he studied and he with the Indologists, and he got his PhD, and you were instrumental in getting his book out. So I was wondering if he shared with you any of his experience dealing with people of a different mentality when he was doing.
Good question. So he told me, because I myself was pursuing my PhD when he was just about that time enrolling in SMU as an undergraduate. Of course, he was way way past me in his intellectual abilities. But I used to meddle into some of the scholars, the opinion of Mahaprabhu and Krishna Bhakti. When I was reading those books by some external scholars, it was very polluting. I did mention that to him. This is like a very offensive way and very corrupt way of presenting Mahaprabhu's teachings. He said, yes, say you shouldn't meddle in those things if you're not ready. You should only get into this when you are sufficiently grounded and you are able to defend your position in a very reconciliatory way. Because you go and, like Mahaprabhu, how did he approach the Mayavadi sannyasis in Benares? He first approached them as an ignorant person. Even though he was a sannyasi, he was so effulgent and so attractive. When he went to the Mayavadi sannyasis, what he did, he actually sat in a place where they washed their feet. And all these sannyasis, they were seated on a high pedestal. Whereas Mahaprabhu, being the Lord himself, he took such an humble position. He sat in a dirty place. He said, this is the befitting place for me to sit. Especially you go to some temples in India, especially in the South Indian temples, there's a place where people wash their feet, wash their hands and wash their mouth and face before they enter the temple. Mahaprabhu sat at that place, and that humility attracted people. So my spiritual master, he went to school not in the mood of converting these people, but actually to see what I can learn from these people in a way where I can present Krishna Bhakti to them in a way they will accept. So it is not easy. Of course, he was very expert. He was very expert in dealing with people and bringing the best out of them. So he was uniquely qualified in that way. And of course, Krishna took him prematurely before he could complete his PhD. But I visited him in Cambridge, in Oxford, when he in his final days, and he took me to some of these conferences, and I see how he dealt with his professors. So they had tremendous regard for him, and he had actually established a very good fan base even among the academia. When he went to the American Academy of Religion, presented his papers there, various conferences and various just like Srila Jiva Goswami, he studied Mayavad philosophy in Benares from Madhusudan Vachaspati. I mean, you can say Jiva Goswami, yeah. So he studied just to see how to find flaws in that philosophy, but not in an arrogant way, but in a way where we can convince them. But often Prabhupada said that it will be very difficult to convince those people who are deeply rooted in this philosophy. So we should also know where our strength is and where our weaknesses are. You go to fight a war, if you don't know what is your weakness and what is your strength, you're going to be defeated. So it is a very practical thing. Okay. All right.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. One last, I think Naveen Krishna Prabhu has his hand raised. So go ahead, Naveen Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Rasikendra Prabhu. Wonderful. It's very nice insight. I never met you, but it's so wonderful to hear from you. Prabhu, I have a question. So based on your teachings, readings so far, did you ever came across this? Because I did not so far. We know when Krishna was born, before him was 6 sons born. So we know they are the sons of previously Kalanemi, and then he was cursed by Hinyakashipu. Before they were the sons of Marichi. And you know the story. So same here, when Sachi Mata had 8 girls, they were left the body right after birth. Is there any significance of that before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu born?
I have read somewhere, I can't recall, there's some significance to it. It doesn't come to my memory now, but there is some significance of the 8 daughters being born and leaving prematurely. Yeah. So sorry, I can't, doesn't come to my memory. This is my Kali Yuga memory.
Whenever if you find something, please.
Sure. I have read, I recall I've read some explanation there. I need to look that up. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
Premchand Prabhu, any final comments or?
No, Prabhu. Very nice class. Very nice summary of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. I wish this would go on for another hour.
So, Prabhu, we take an assurance that we are going to come back to you for part 2.
Sundays are very busy days for me, actually. Today, normally at this time, I have another class, but I kind of moved that class to afternoon. So
we'll contact you, Prabhu. We'll take the dates from you. Part 2 and possibly part 3 also. So,
yeah. Shortly after this, my wife is going to be speaking to the Austin congregation, so I have to be there. Yeah, shortly. Anyway, thank you all very much for including me in this wonderful event. I feel very purified talking to all of you. You seem to be so engrossed in Krishna Katha, so I become enthused by looking at all of you and listening to you all. Thank you so much.
Visit us in Columbus also once this epidemic is over.
I actually visited there a few years ago with Srivas Pandit.
From Cincinnati.
Yeah, Srivas Pandit is a very good friend of mine, and I know him for about 20 years. So, and Prem Vilas Prabhu, where's Prem Vilas Prabhu?
He is there, I think. But he is definitely here. Probably he's working or he's been busy. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So we have some couple of local announcements, and then we'll pause for today. So the next quick announcement on the 2 festivals, upcoming festivals. So next Wednesday is Papa Mochani Ekadasi. So we'll have that 6 to 9 p.m. we will have Kirtan. So if anybody wants to join the Kirtan on Facebook, please send me your details and I can schedule you. And then on 21st, we have a major festival coming up. That is Ram Navami. That is the appearance of Lord Ramchandra. So they'll be fasting till sunset on that day. And more details will be announced. We are working through that, and we'll send out an email with more details on the festival celebrations. I think that's all the announcements I had for today. And today we had a slight difficulty in the starting for the Kirtan at 11. So hopefully from next time we'll stabilize. So, but now the start time is 11 o'clock. Please join the Kirtan at 11. And then our discourse will be at the same time at 11:30. So any other announcements from anybody, or we can end today's program? So.
Hare Krishna, as everybody know, this coming Thursday, we're giving a Vaishnav Sheva in ISKCON temple. So whoever, please send us the message for the boxes. Please send us. It's really help. And we're really looking for to serve the devotee, to get the blessing for our dearmost father who suddenly left. Is my Prabhu is so morose. By all of your mercy, he will continue. This is the life. We never know.
So thank you, Mata. So that's for the 8th of April, which is Dwadasi, right, Mata? Is that 1 o'clock, right?
It start from 1 o'clock. So who can for their work cannot come, they can come later also pick up the box.
Sure. And Mata, they need to let you know by email, right?
Yeah, most 70% already told.
Okay.
If anybody left, please. Still we have time till Tuesday.
Perfect. Thank you, Mata. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So any other announcements, or so we can close today? And thank you for everybody for participating. We'll start with the Vaishnava Pranam. Gamancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.